Welcome back to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I take the dog out for a walk and deliver an episode to you as we stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a crisp, brisk 22 degrees here on January 22nd in suburban Chicago. I'm pleased to be returning to the Pick Up and Deliver podcast for season 2. I think I'm going to try to keep generally a 10-month schedule, in which I go late January to late November, and then stop for the December-January holidays. At least that's the way that I did it last year, and so we'll continue on that this year. I'm pleased to be returning to you. I'm not planning to... all right, so today on the podcast, we're going to talk about 3 things. First, I'll talk about some New Year gaming, some what I've been playing. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about my challenges, personal challenges for the year. And finally, my thinking about the podcast for the coming weeks or months. So buckle up. It's going to be great. If you hear jingle jangle, that's my in-law's dog, Abby, out strolling with me today. She is a Labradoodle, which sounds ridiculous to say, but she is very cute. She's about the size of a Labrador retriever and with fluffy hair, kind of like a poodle. And I guess that she's a mix of the two. Not quite as coiffed as your standard poodle would be, but we're out for a stroll today. So I hope that your holidays were lovely. A few of you have been keeping tabs with me on the Pick Up and Deliver podcast. In particular, shout outs to Chris and Wes for posting and staying active. Hello to the rest of you. I hope that your holidays were lovely. Drop by the Pick Up and Deliver Guild over on Board Game Geek and say hello. So, like I said, today I'll start with what I've been playing and shifting into a few other things. So, what I've been playing is a lot of games on my personal challenges. We'll talk a little bit more about those challenges later. But I want to talk about 3 games we've been playing a fair amount of. The first is Betrayal Legacy. Obviously, I won't say too much about it because the worst thing you can do about it for a Legacy game is reveal all the cool stuff that happens in it. But Betrayal Legacy is one of the newer entries in the Legacy series from Rob Daviau, designer of Pandemic Legacy and many other games. Betrayal Legacy takes the Betrayal at House on the Hill game and basically allows you to build a story around the house. So the idea is it starts in the 1600s in colonial America, and each player represents a clan or a family in the area who keep returning to the house for various adventures. Each game you get to depict which member of the family you're going to be, and of course the game has all sorts of stickers and components. A couple of things I found really fun. Unlike regular Betrayal at House on the Hill, where you start with a giant stack of tiles, in Betrayal Legacy you start with just a few tiles, and each game you get to add a few more tiles to the stack for the house. You also start with a very few items and events, and as you go along you're going to add items and events to the deck, and some will be eliminated. We've had a couple now where we finished the game and it says to take card number whatever out of the deck that has the unused cards in it and tear that up, because that won't be in our game. That's a fun twist, and clearly at the end of the game we're going to have a playable copy of Betrayal at House on the Hill that's specialized for our group, where the items all have names and are owned by certain clan members or certain clans, and looks like it could be a lot of fun. So we've played that 4 times thus far, so I'm very excited to see where that goes. It turned out my guess was that it would be a good hit with the family, because it's one of the games that my son already likes, and getting him to play new games is difficult, but getting him to play games he already knows works really well. And so Betrayal is a game he already knew, combined with the Legacy stuff, which he hasn't really gotten to do because we've been playing games he doesn't like. So really fun way to jump in. And like I said, we've played 4 games of it so far already. Well, the second game I wanted to mention in this quick survey of what I've been playing is the new hotness from Stonemaier Games, and that's Wingspan. I haven't really been a Stonemaier. It's hard to say. I am definitely a Stonemaier fan. Every Stonemaier game I've played, I enjoyed. I really like Scythe. I really like Euphoria. I really like Between Two Cities. I like Between Two Cities. I won't say I really like it. I have not played Viticulture. I think that's all the games. I haven't played their... They have that Between Two Cities themed game based on Good Cop, Bad Cop, which I haven't played. And then Wingspan was his newest game. And I saw ads for it on Board Game Geek. You could pre-order it. And I went there, and I've been watching Jamie's videos for a long time. I watch him on YouTube, and I listen to... I've read his blog for a while, too. And he's got this thing on his website called Stonemaier Champions, where for, I think, $12 a year, you can support the videos, but also then you get first crack at the pre-orders. And I found that actually really fun to do. So I was thinking about, Wingspan looked really nice. I thought my mother-in-law, whose dog I'm walking, who really likes birds, might think Wingspan looks fun. If you haven't seen it at all, it's a bird-themed engine builder. That's really all you need to know. You're collecting different birds, and the birds trigger in different ways. And as you go along and collect the right combinations of birds, they will trigger and create better and better engines, which will get you more and more birds and more points. Really fun, delightful game, actually. I like it quite a bit. But so the way that the Stonemaier Champions program works is if it's, I think, $12 a year to be a champion. And when you do that, you're supporting his podcasts and stuff. But then you also get a monthly newsletter that's just for the Stonemaier Champions. And you get first crack at any new games that come out from Stonemaier Games. And this is a really clever way, I think, for Jamie to replace the direct revenue that Kickstarter brought in, and probably a bit more because Kickstarter's not taking their cut anymore. But leverage the sincere fan appreciation that they have. And so the reason I signed up for that is that I saw the Wingspan ads, and I went and watched the Rodney Smith video. And watching the video, I was just like, this is exactly the kind of game I think that will work really well in my family. So yeah, let's do this. And so then I went and looked, and if you pre-ordered Wingspan from Stonemaier Games, you get it second, in the second tier. If you're a Stonemaier champion, then you get free shipping, and you get it in the first tier. So the first wave of games to go out go to the champions, and the shipping is free. So, I mean, you're paying full retail, but shipping is free. So that, you might even not be paying full retail. I think you are. You're paying full retail, but shipping's free. So I signed up to be a Stonemaier champion and ordered the game. And I ordered the game on the last day that you could pre-order it. So I don't know how they exported things, but then, so because I ordered the game and I was a Stonemaier champion, I was in the last day of the pre-order. So I ordered on January 8th. And it showed up at my house on like January 10th or 11th. It was really fast. I mean, I'm close to St. Louis, so in Chicago, so my game had probably the least distance to go over other people. But, a week and a half after I had my game, he's still posting about people who were supposed to get games in the first wave that hadn't gotten them yet. So I got really lucky that way. But Wingspan turned out to be really fun, too. It's an excellent little mid-weight engine builder, and it turns out my wife really likes it. I don't think it hurts that she beats me regularly. That's true in her and Sagrada. Azul, we're pretty even. Welcome to, I win a bit more than she does, but it's always a contest. But yeah, I think I've only beaten her. I don't know if I've beaten her at all, actually, with Wingspan. So that's been really fun. We've played that, I think, three or four times now, and I'm really enjoying that. The third game I wanted to mention has been also a game played with my wife this January because it's been so cold. We've been playing a lot of games. So we've been playing a lot of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. We are now 6 games into the new box that we have, the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Jack the Ripper series. So I'm very excited to continue with that. The way that Jack the Ripper and other stories goes is that you start with, there are 5 cases that are a campaign about the 5 canonical murders committed by Jack the Ripper, and then there are 5 other standalone cases. We actually played the standalone cases first, and now just last night we played the first of the Ripper cases. I would imagine, just because they're kind of interconnected, that we're going to play through these pretty quickly. I would be surprised if we got to the end of February without having finished the Jack the Ripper cases. So I'm very excited for that. If you haven't played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, it's a lovely little mystery game where you decide on locations to go to and you read passages, and then you discuss as a group what you'd like to do next, and then you kind of take turns picking where you're going to go. And then we usually end up visiting between 10 and 15 locations. And then when you think you've got the answer to the mystery, then you turn to the back, and we average in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 points. Honestly, the way it goes is most games we win and we figure out the mystery, and we end up at about 60 points, 50 to 60 points. And then like every third or fourth game, we do terribly and we end up with like 5, 10 points, 0 points. We had one case a little while ago that was negative 15. So sometimes you do well and sometimes you do very poorly, which isn't surprising with a game like that. But really enjoying it. It leads me into a little bit of administrative hullabaloo, and then into thinking about next year's, or about challenges, or telling you about my challenges. So this year I've actually posed several challenges to myself, 4 of them to be precise. That's not several, that's 4. The first is what on Board Game Geek they call a hardcore 10x10. A hardcore 10x10 is where you declare up front which games you're going to be playing, and then over the course of a year you have to play all 10 of those games 10 times each. You're allowed to declare one alternate game, so you can pick one game that you can substitute in for another if you screw up or fail to finish one, but generally the rule is that you have to finish the 10 that you pick. The way I did it this year, in order to have a better chance at finishing, because last year I did not quite finish, was to pick the 10 games with my family. I picked 6 games, I picked 4 games myself, and I let each member of my family, my wife, my daughter, my son, pick 2 of the games that I would put on my 10 for 10. And then we have a 10 for 10 board in the living room where I'm posting these as I play them. Most of the time, family members are involved in plays, but I'm allowing myself to advance the play thing even if the family member isn't there. But I'm trying not to play the 10 for 10 games if the member of the family isn't there. I'm also using my phone app to keep track of this, and you can enter that it's a hardcore challenge, which I want to do because I don't want to switch games. Oh, so I didn't explain what the hardcore part of it is. The hardcore part is you're not allowed to switch games. You pick the 10 you're going to play and you're stuck with those 10. My problem is that I have to cheat my app a little bit because we're going to run out of cases for Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective is a game that's been released in 3 chapters or 3 parts or 3 boxes. As far as Board Game Geek is concerned, these are 3 separate games. There's Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Jack the Ripper and blah blah blah, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective The Carlton House and other cases. So there's 3 different games that all have the same rule set. I mean, basically they're expansions, they're standalone expansions. As far as Board Game Geek is concerned, those are different games. So as far as my app is concerned, they're different games. So the problem is going to be, my wife and I started the Jack the Ripper ones before this year. We'd done 4 of them already. So having played that twice already this year, once we play 5 more times, we'll have done all 10 cases. And then we'll start on the next box set. But if I log those as the next box set, I won't finish my 10 for 10. So I'm going to have to cheat a little and log those as the Jack the Ripper cases to complete my 10 for 10. And I'll fudge it a little bit in the BG Stats app to get it to work. That said, everything else should be fine for making my app work the way I want it to. So what are my 10 games? I don't have my list in front of me, apologies, but I'll try to remember the 10. I know that a lot of the listeners have been following on the Guild as well. The 10 for 10 challenge. Listener Chris posted his personal challenge there, and I followed suit. Would encourage any other listeners who are keeping track to post your updates in the Pick Up and Deliver Guild, or links to wherever you are keeping your updates. I'm keeping mine in my yearly top of the stack list, but also on the Pick Up and Deliver Guild. So I am making progress on the 10. Here are the 10 games. Let's see if I can remember them off the top of my head. The 10 games for my 10 for 10. We have Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Cerebria, London, Legacy of Dragonholt. Those are the 4 I picked. My wife picked Sagrada, and she picked Sherlock Holmes. What's the other game I picked? My wife picked Sagrada, that's 5. My daughter picked Kings of Air Steam and Gizmos. My son picked Rainbow Knights and Rampage, and the last one is Betrayal Legacy. So those are our 10. I've also put down Welcome To as my alternate game, which I'll be playing. As of this podcast, I've played 14 games on my 10 for 10 and 2 games of Welcome To. So making good progress. If I can get 10% a month, that's plenty. 20% a month would mean we finish before the end of June, or finish in May actually, but that would be great, because I've also set myself several other challenges. Second, I want to also achieve a normal 10 by 10. The rules in Board Game Geek for a normal 10 by 10 basically just say you have to play 10 games 10 times each, and you are allowed to switch around which games you're going to play and or figure them out as you go along. If you're also doing a hardcore 10 for 10, of course you're not allowed to use the same game for both. With the exception being the alternate, perhaps. If you finish your 10 by 10 organically, then you can use the alternate to finish. So that's kind of what I'm doing as well. I've got a normal 10 by 10 going. Right now, I believe I have 6 games picked out to play. And that's going to be Scarabia, Agricola, what else? Wingspan. I just put a Thief's Fortune on there, which is a game that just showed up, but it looks fun, so I'm just going to make sure I play it 10 times. And a couple Space Base on one more. Codenames Harry Potter, Codenames Duet. If you play, they're the same game basically, just one has a Harry Potter theme, so I'm counting them as the same game for my 10 for 10. If I play either of them for, this time, that counts. So that's my organic 10 for 10. I also have 2 more play challenges. So I guess I have 5 altogether. I have a leftovers challenge, which is I made a small list showing the remaining games that I had left over from last year's 10 for 10 to see if I can kind of mop that up as well. I have a couple games of Roll for the Galaxy, a few games of Via Nebula and Ex Libris, and a couple more as well. So all of this is on my top of the stack post for each month. I've also declared this year's designer challenge to be Vladimir Suchy. In the past I have done great designer episodes where I talk about designers that I like enough to have 5 or more of their games. And Vladimir Suchy is one who I love the most, or second most after Martin Wallace. And I have all of his games except for Underwater Cities. And as soon as that's released in the US, of course, I'll be getting myself a copy of that. And it's due out from Rio Grande anytime. So when I do that, my goal is to play every Vladimir Suchy game this year. I'm going to go chronologically, so I'm going to start with the League of Six and work my way up, probably starting in February. I was thinking about trying to start tonight, but I'm supposed to play a game of what's the detective game, Chronicles of Crime tonight. So I'm not sure I'll have time to also play a new game that I haven't played before. So that's the Leftovers Challenge and the Vladimir Suchy Challenge. Finally, I have a Shelf of Opportunity Challenge. At the beginning of the year, I had 56 games on my Shelf of Opportunity. This is outrageous, and it needs fixing. So my goal for this year is to reduce it by half. So to have, at the end of the year, my Shelf of Opportunity should be no bigger than 28 games. And I can reduce it in two ways. One is to play the games, that's preferred. But the second way is to get rid of the games. We're having a garage sale this weekend at Toggle Gaming, and I'm going to sell a bunch of games, including several I've never played. One of them, for instance, is Lost Legends, which is a sort of dungeon crawl adventure game. If I have time to play a dungeon crawl adventure game, I'm going to play Gloomhaven. If we're not in the mood for Gloomhaven, my daughter keeps asking to play Descent. Between those two, I see no possibility that I'm going to get out a third game. So it's just sitting on my shelf. So I thought I'd let it sit on someone else's shelf. So there are several games like that. Maybe I'll do another episode about the garage sale games. But several of them are on my never have played list, and they're going away. So season 2, starting off with a bang. No deep content, just me talking about my gaming. Hopefully it was sort of interesting to listen to. If you're in the Chicago area, I hope we can meet up and play some games. Please do reach out. Join me at Toggle. I'm back to Toggle every week now. It's just been super fun for the last month, and I can't wait to continue. So season 2. I am not sure how often I'm going to put out episodes. I'm going to try for a couple a week. I don't think I'm going to push for particular days. I think I'm going to try to do at least one a week just to keep in it. And other ones, when I feel like doing an episode, I'll do one, but not feel obligated one way or another. If you have topic ideas or questions, that's always a fun way to start an episode, is to get a question. There's a Q&A thread on the Pick Up and Deliver Guild over at Board Game Geek, Guild 3269, I believe. You should look that up. If you're interested in anything I talked about on the show, I keep a page for each episode on the Rattlebox Games website, where I put links to the games I talk about and other things. If you are interested in talking with me, you can reach out to me, Brendan at rattleboxgames.com, or you can post on the Pick Up and Deliver Guild, or reach out to me on Board Game Geek. My name there is Wombat929. Welcome back to Season 2. I hope that this first episode is enjoyable for you, and I look forward to being in your ear somewhat regularly. In the meantime, I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.